Hi, I'm Sunil, and in this episode of Systematic Property, we'll look at 5 different types of incentives builders offer you to buy their property. Now, why would a builder want to offer you an incentive? Well, it just could be that they need to offload some properties. They've got pressure from banks or finances, or they just need to hit their targets. Either way, it's a good deal for you if you can get it. So, the most common one that I see is the deposit paid scheme. This is where they advertise that we'll pay your deposit. It sounds a bit crazy really, because they just pay the deposit and get the money back. Well, in reality, no money changes hands. Well, I've never seen a deal where they've actually physically put the cash into the transaction and then got it back afterwards. But all this means is that your deposit is going to come down by 5%. If you can get a 95% mortgage or a loan to value of 95%, then your deposit's going to be effectively zero. If you get an 85% mortgage, then rather than paying 15%, you're paying 10%. So pretty obvious. How does it all work? Well, it changes around the world because there's different rules and regulations, but usually a solicitor or a lawyer will take care of the details and make sure that that deal happens correctly. Obviously, a bank needs to be okay with it, and the valuer will need to be okay with it as well. The valuer or the surveyor's job is to make sure the property is worth what you're paying for it. And on paper, on a 5% deposit scheme, let's say the property is $100,000, the purchase price is still $100,000. It's just that they're accepting $95,000 for that property that's worth $100,000. Now, please, if you see this, make sure you push the developer. Ask for 5% or 10% or 15% or more. Push them for as much as you can, because they have a lot of money usually to give away to people who buy houses from them. I call developers and builders professional sellers, because that's what they do. It's their job to sell property, and it's my job to buy property and make money from it. So that's the first one. Second one is landscaping and gardening. Again, pretty common that you see builders offer that, and if you don't see them offering it, ask for it anyway, because it usually costs them very little to put grass down and do some sort of landscaping or whatever it is in the garden, if there's one on the property. Number 3 is internal landscaping, we can call it. White goods, carpeting, furnishings, stuff like that. Again, they can probably get those things or source them at a lot cheaper than you could. So hey, why not ask them to do that and see if they oblige. One of the things that I've seen quite common in Dubai is giving a free car with a property, and usually it's higher price property. So you're going to buy a property, let's say for $300,000-$400,000, and they're throwing in a $40,000 car with the property. It makes you wonder, are you buying a property and a car, or you're buying a property with a free car? Well, the builder is doing this because guess what? They can probably source the car a lot cheaper than you could, so it's actually not costing them the same amount as the car to give you that discount. But the perceived value for you is obviously a lot higher. So kind of like makes a good deal if you need to buy a car and a house at the same time. But again, all of these things come out in the wash on the completion. And one of the things you have to be asking yourself all the time is, what is the real value of what I'm buying? In all of these situations, it's very important that you understand the value of what you're getting without the incentives. And in fact, sometimes it's good to kind of like work that out and go right to the bare minimum and say, hey, knock off all these incentives, give me a cash price instead. Now, there are some reasons why builders don't want to do that and developers don't want to do that, because they like to keep their prices stable, and so they won't want to actually reduce the price, and that's why they offer incentives. Now, another one of the common ones that we see, especially for commercial properties or investment properties or developers where they're targeting investors, is offering guaranteed ROI, or will guarantee a 7% yield on this property over the next 5 years. So it's very important for you to understand what's really being put on offer here. It's just a way of the builder inflating, or I want to say inflating, that may be the wrong word, but keeping the price of the value high so that you can borrow more money. Now, if we take an example of, let's say, a $100,000 property with a 5% deposit paid scheme, that's a $95,000 purchase price. If you have to go and finance that, then you're going to have to borrow, put down 5% of the 95,000 if you can get a 95% mortgage, right? So you're borrowing 95% of 95,000 and putting the balance in yourself. Whereas if you can get this 5% deposit paid scheme, you're just borrowing 95% of the 100,000, so your deposit comes to zero. So it's a great way for builders to help you actually reduce your deposit costs by offering incentives. And all I've done and all I love to do is push that to its absolute maximum possible, find different ways and different incentives, but basically they're all the same thing. Just call it something where we can actually end up borrowing more money on the property value rather than the purchase price, so that it means less money from my pocket, and of course that means a higher ROI. So always push the developer for the maximum amount of incentives that you can get.